So if you saw the vlog yesterday, you'll know I got the Blackmagic Pocket 4K camera. It is 2020 and this thing came out quite a long time ago, so I'll discuss a little bit about why I chose to get this camera right now. And we're going to be out this morning just getting some sample shots with it, getting a feel for it and how I like it. So let's just get more into that. So starting off this morning, we're using the Sigma 18-35 lens on here. That's the Canon EF mount. So I'm adapting it with this pretty cheap K&F adapter to micro four thirds. And this doesn't have pen pass through, so none of the electronic functions of the lens work, which is my first kind of realization that I can't change the iris on here. The autofocus obviously won't work then also. That's not a huge deal as much as being able to adjust the iris. And I've already started looking at the adapters that do have the pass-through. If you're not looking for a speed booster, you're talking about $150. If you are looking for a speed booster, maybe $250 for a cheap one, but the Metabones, the nice one, is over $600, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. I do have a couple of micro four thirds lenses, but they are all manual anyways. But we'll switch to one of those in a bit, but I want to get some more shots with the Sigma. And this is something I definitely kind of knew, but didn't realize how much of a hindrance it could be. But that's cool, we'll work it all out. Now, of course, this thing can shoot in B-roll, and you have the B-roll, not cinema D&G, because it is a newer body. I've already shot a couple of things in B-roll and messed with it a little bit in DaVinci Resolve, but I'm not as familiar with DaVinci Resolve. So most of the stuff I'm shooting for this is going to be in ProRes. I'm recording in ProRes 422 4K, and from a little bit of a test footage that I did last night and threw into Premiere Pro, seem to work flawlessly. We'll see how all this turns out. So one of the common complaints with the Pocket 4K is the battery life. Not quite as much as the 6K, but definitely still an issue with the 4K. And with my testing so far, yeah, it is a pain in the butt. I do have plenty of the Canon batteries that it takes, but they don't last terribly long. So if you're doing longer shoots, definitely longer takes, then it can be definitely a problem. They also have a lot of different battery solutions out there, but I like just the more run and gun of grabbing the camera and going, so I probably won't go with the battery solution. But also I don't think that my workflow necessarily is going to be hampered too much by the battery capacity. We'll have to just see that on a long-term basis. All right, so I've switched over to the Rokinon. This is a micro four thirds lens, so it fits perfectly on here with no adapter. It's also a fully manual lens, so I can adjust everything manually. It's a 12mm, so about 24mm equivalent on the micro four thirds frame. So let's get some shots with this one and just see what they look like. I do have one more trick up my sleeve as far as lenses go, so we'll show you that one in just a bit, but let's get some more footage with this thing. All right, and this is attempt number 3 at vlogging with this thing. The record limit keeps turning the record off, probably because of the SD card in here. We were shooting at 60 frames per second, so now we're back down to 24 frames per second, so this should be better. But again, this is the 12mm Rokinon lens. It's a 24mm equivalent, so it should be a decent frame here, but obviously because it doesn't have a flip out screen, I don't know my framing. Should be in focus because I set the focus distance to about 3 feet, which is about the length of my arm here, so should be good on focus. But I don't know exactly how the frame looks or anything like that. Definitely recording longer now, so that 60 frames per second with the SD card that I have in here is definitely an issue. but interested to see how this footage ends up looking. So I don't know how easy it is to see this, but it is October. It's October the 15th, and so this morning it's only 72 degrees, but it's very humid out here, especially in this little swampy area that I'm in. But by noon it's supposed to be like 51 and very dry air, so fun times in Texas. One thing I also need to figure out here is the focus peaking. I know it has it. I know you can customize the top buttons to get it, but I just haven't taken the time to dig into the menu and set the buttons as focus peaking, but it'll help a lot with the manual focus lenses. But I think we're gonna wrap it up out here, get back to the office and talk to you guys about why I decided to buy the Blackmagic 4K in 2020, at the end of 2020, almost 2021. All right, and before we head out of here for the morning, let's throw on the other Micro Four Thirds lens and check it out. And you might be saying there's actually a lens on there. Yes, it's not really a penhole lens necessarily, but it is a fixed aperture, so it's an f/22 fixed, and you only have a couple of settings for your focus, from infinity to somewhere in between infinity and 0.2 millimeters, so it can do some more almost kind of macro stuff. But it's also a 9mm lens, which equivalent would be about 18, but it's a very sort of a fisheye-ish effect. So we're gonna see what that looks like. We'll have to bump our ISO a little bit because of that f/22. Yeah, let's get some shots with that. All right, guys, I'm definitely done being out here and sweating in my sweater in October. Let's get back to the car, get into the office, check out some of this footage, and start figuring out what we think about this Blackmagic. All right, back in the car. AC is on because I'm sweating. But shooting on the Blackmagic for this, I think we did good. Definitely needs a lot more testing and fiddling with the menu system, stuff like that. I could do with a better lens, maybe even something with image stabilization. As you probably could tell by any of the footage that I've shown, I don't have the most steady of hands, so hand holding with no in-body stabilization, no digital stabilization, no lens stabilization. You get some pretty shaky footage. Even with the Sigma, which is a beast of a lens and a little bit heavier, there's still a lot of movement there, even though it does add some pretty good weight to it. But let's, like I said, let's get back. It's getting late, it's almost 9 o'clock already. Alright guys, so let's talk a little bit and wrap this video up. First off, this is on the Blackmagic camera. I've got an external monitor hooked up to it so I can see what I'm looking at from the camera. I've got an external microphone hooked up, which we didn't test out earlier, so we'll see how this sounds. And this isn't what I bought the camera for. It's not going to be a talking head, shooting me talking kind of thing. I'm going to be behind the camera using this thing. So this setup is kind of just for this video and probably not for a lot of other videos. But I did want to get into a cinema camera as opposed to a DSLR, and I still do love the EOS R, and this is going to be still my go-to camera for doing my review videos, a lot of the vlogging style videos, even though this vlog here is mainly shot on the, where is it? SL2, the Canon SL2. Right now we've got the 75-300 lens on it because we were just at a football game for my son and shooting some pictures there, and this is a great little setup for doing that. But I reviewed some of the footage from the morning, and I was pretty happy with it. Colors look good. Obviously the stabilization is going to be a thing, so a lot of more locked off shots is definitely going to be better for this. I do have a gimbal, but I know that because of how wide this thing is, you need counterweights and things like that to really get it set up correctly. So I'm gonna have to work on that if we want to get some gimbal shots of it. But I also am interested to get this on the Slipod and get some shots with that, but that's gonna have to be for later. I guess the other big thing was the adapter that I have adapting the EF lenses, and you can't control the iris or autofocus. Autofocus isn't as big of a deal, but the iris is a pretty huge deal to be able to control. I don't know if I'm going to go the route of buying an adapter to be able to do that. The speed boosters are pretty expensive, and this is kind of a temporary camera for me. I'm getting there. So I might get another Micro Four Thirds lens to go with this, because those are always useful with different setups, and if I need to sell it, they're usually not that big of a deal. But yeah, I got this to get more into the cinema feel, get some raw editing under my belt, get some ProRes editing under the belt, and get some more dynamic range into some of the shots that we're getting for client work. One of the end goals here is to get the Canon C70. It doesn't come out till November, so my plan kind of is I got this and I'll probably sell it sometime in November or December. Hopefully we can still get, a lot of them are going for right at $1,000 or over. That's why I don't want to invest a lot into a speed booster or a cage or a battery solution, because if I can just sell this for $1,000, that means I had it for a month and a half or 2 months for $200, which is a lot cheaper than just renting the camera, and then take that money and reinvest it into the C70. So that's kind of the goal, because that C70 I think is the kind of the end goal of what I want. It's the right size for me. It's got the built-in NDs. I already have RF lenses. I don't mind investing more into RF lenses. If I was to get the Pocket 6K that had the EF mount, or another type of camera that had an EF mount, I don't mind investing in EF lenses either, but it just seems like the RF is the way to go. So I'm happy that the C70 has the RF mount. I even thought about buying an older C100 or even a C200B you can get for around $4,000 now. So that's less than the C70, but then again, you're more limited on recording codecs and stuff like that, frame rates, and you're still with the EF lens mount. The other option obviously was the red Komodo, which again I still like and would still be cool, but there's a lot of extra stuff that you really got to get in on that as well if you want to go into that system. So it's not just the $6,000 or $7,000 of the system itself, and it hasn't, I think it was just announced. I've saw a lot of videos drop on it, but at this point I'm already tired of watching Komodo videos, so I added them to my watch later list and haven't watched them yet. But yeah, I'm super happy with what we've got here. I think it was a great purchase. Looking forward to getting more shots with this thing, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little walkthrough. And if you've got any more questions, want me to do any more tests while I do have the camera, please leave those in the comments below. But if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment. Again, if you got any questions or want to see something specifically with this, or even see more of the workflow that we're going to put this through for client work. But again, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you want more vlogs like this. See you later.